Okay, great. So tonight we're going to have a presentation from Linda Ewen on her approach to deduping large data files. I apologize about the timing of this. We ended up asking Linda to step in at the last minute, and fortunately she did have enough time to prepare her presentation, which I appreciate on short notice. What we were going to do tonight has been moved back till November. So with that, I will go ahead and turn the time over to Linda. I've known Linda since, I don't know what, 10, 12 years now?
At least.
At least, yeah. I don't remember even where we first ran into each other, but we've been friends for a long time, and I appreciate all of her contributions over the years. And again, she was able to step in at the last minute and help us out here. So I'm in her debt one more time. Linda is a long-term Access developer, and before that she was in IT for many years. So she has a huge experience in Access and all matters IT. So without going into too much more detail, I think I'll just turn the time over to Linda, and you can fill in whatever else you'd like us to know about yourself and your client that you're talking about.
Okay, my turn?
Yes, your turn.
All right.
Is your desktop? Yes, your desktop is still shared.
And everybody can see it?
Can you all see the desktop?
Yes.
Okay. What I did was I took it from a client and I cannibalized what I needed, because you didn't need the whole database from the client. So I thought I'd give a little background. George says that the background sometimes can be boring, so wave your hand if you don't want to hear it. But I've had this client probably 25, maybe even 30 years. I got the client from a hardware guy, which, by the way, is always a good source of referrals. I don't know if you know that, but a lot of hardware guys love to work with Access programmers, because this way they can keep the client, and whatever, and they don't know Access. The other thing is the hardware guy, one of my, in terms of a hardware guy, many of you don't need this, but my favorite quote to my clients is, how many programmers it takes to change a light bulb? None. It's a hardware problem. I am not a hardware person at all. So at any rate, the hardware guy actually decided to try Access, and he developed a database for them. I won't bore you with the details. I can't remember exactly, but it was a mess. And it didn't do what they wanted at all. And he called me and said, "Can you take over?" And I said, "Sure, for money, why not?" Now, the client, I thought, had 400,000, but they actually have 500,000 customers. Originally, the data came from diskettes, which they obtained from a UPS program. Remember, this is 25, 30 years ago. I convinced them eventually to go to a USB, which they thought was the height of technology. And then eventually, with some effort, I got them to use email. And they thought I was going to email the data to me, which obviously wasn't going to happen. It was silly. Then now they use the web. So the data is entered from a website and occasionally manually. And they also get lists from places. And there's an interesting problem with the list. People don't like to get the catalogs because they get duplicates. And in some cases, when they get the list, the customers complain that, we sent them a catalog, and they're really not in the database. But I now have to put them in the database and mark them "don't send catalog" so that they don't get any more. Okay? And what else can I say? Okay, so in order to create the demo, obviously I wasn't going to use 500,000 names. So I got fake lists. Here, let me show you. I got fake names, which I had to break into, first and last. I got fake addresses, which, Okay, they didn't look quite this good. I made them into that. But let's start with the program. There's a table that contains pretty much every abbreviation I could think of. And what the program does, it eliminates blanks and vowels and spaces and all that, and also eliminates common expressions, like street and green and grove and harbors, right? And I don't know if we need tabular alphabet, but I just pulled it in. I know we don't need catalog, but actually one of the forms had a problem when I didn't bring it in. So should we go to let's go to the modules.
Yeah.
And mod duplicates. Okay, and we'll bring this up. Okay, and first of all, let me show you what the data looks like. We'll do a query design. Take the customer and I'll show the first name, last name, address 1, and clean address 1. Well, actually clean, we don't need first name is a whole other issue. And yeah, we don't need, we need last name. Clean. Okay. So you can see that it takes everything out that it doesn't need. I'm not 100% sure how it got CS. I've got clean name twice and not clean address. All right, that explains that. Okay. So this allows, even if they spell it, DR or whatever, it will still show as a duplicate because it's not going to use this actual address. Make sense? Any questions?
Well, let me just make sure I understand. So what it's going, like for that second row, it's going to eliminate drive because that's in your list of.
Yes.
And then it's going to condense MYERS to MRS.
Yes.
Okay.
And it takes only the first 10 characters of what I call the clean address.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, let me update query type. Update. Yeah, we don't want to lose the first name. And let's get the clean zip in there too. I think we have, update to, no. Oops. No. Okay. Now, sure, A. All right, so now let's go to the code. All right. Actually, let's clean up the zip. I don't remember whether that's used or not. It's been a while. Yeah, forget it. Let's just do scrub address name. And there are two parts to it. And first we do the name. I don't remember why the name had to be done first, but all done. And now if you look at the data, and then we'll go through the code. Table, customer, and There's the names. Okay. And now we'll do the, okay, let's go through the code. Okay, would that help?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll put a stop there. Scrub address 1. Okay. All right, the reason this is in here is in some cases when I got the data, it wound up that address 1 was blank, but address 2 had the real address. So if it turns out that address 1 is it may update address 1 if it has to. It takes it away from 2 and it puts it back in address 1 where it should be. So there aren't any like that.
Would that be the case of a null in address 1, or?
Excuse me?
So that would handle the case where address 1 was null or zero length string?
That's it. I didn't even know it ran. Okay. Okay, update. Yeah, there aren't any. But in some cases, there have been, yeah, let's go back. Oh, it went too fast. I didn't stop it. Let me put a stop in, just what I usually do anyway. We'll put a stop after, and I usually put the date in. Let's go back and, okay. Now, occasionally, oh, we can't be all done. That's great. Let's see why that happened.
So is it only going to handle that first record?
Yeah, no, it handles, it goes through all of customer where address is not null and clean address. Oh, clean address is null, right?
Okay.
Let's make sure that clean address 1 is null. And it's not. So, so let me go back to query 1 and run it again. You know those queries that you only run once?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the code. Okay.
So what? Yeah. So what is the significance of long address name as long of that 1 there? What is the significance?
Well, one is the address and 2 is the name.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because it does pretty much the same thing. It's a little different for the address than it is for the name.
I see. Oh, never mind. I just wanted to clarify what, because
Okay, see, at the end of it's the name, it only takes 5 characters.
Okay.
And it doesn't go through those abbreviations.
Okay, so it's running the entire record set, but that just tells it which name or address to function on. Okay.
Yes.
I misinterpreted it. It was like the record ID.
No. See, long address name. I don't know why I called it that. Okay. And all right, let's see if it behaves better. Okay. All right, so the data in, yeah, let's show it. Data in. Okay, let's see what it's going to do with this. Now, it eliminates all the obvious abbreviations. It goes through every one of those abbreviations. Yeah, let's stop at 1.
So looking at the sample address you have there that it's working on, by an abbreviation, you mean removing the RED
Yes.
period, or just removing the period?
It's going to remove I haven't done it with this particular address, but it's probably going to remove West Road A and E. Right?
Okay. So you're not actually trying to cast code this in any way. You're trying to come up with your own coding of an address?
Excuse me?
So what is the purpose of your trying to get this down to the root word of the address with no vowels?
Well, I eliminate vowels because it's, people sometimes put an I in when they should have put an E or whatever. I did have one issue with the name, and I eliminate Y. So one of the issues that I had was there's a Chinese name or Asian name anyway, YU, which of course completely disappeared. So I have a cutout for YU.
Yeah.
I found that out, when I was debugging this many years ago. Okay.
So let me just follow up on Jack's question too. So the reason for taking West out completely is to eliminate W period.
Exactly.
So you just want to get,
Exactly.
is there a reason for eliminating them as opposed to just picking one standard one?
Well, I eliminate them from the clean. I don't eliminate from the actual address.
No, I mean, but for your
This is just the clean address spot on the database. They still keep their full address. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But
this is just for the comparison purposes.
This does not change the address data. This creates a whole other column so that I can match new data that comes in, even if they put West a different way or W dot or whatever, right?
Oh, I get it. So if the same address comes back with a different abbreviation,
yes,
it'll match. Okay. Got
yes.
it.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to explain me 3 times.
Hey, that's all right. My kids have a very similar complaint about my, they say, send me down to Guantanamo, they'll all confess. Especially if I start to tell jokes. So, okay, so, it goes through all of this. It takes out the, I think it takes out the numeric stuff as well, because, we don't need the period. We eliminate the spaces. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Let's go here because, we know that obviously it takes longer with 500,000 records. Here's where it finds the, looks for the abbreviations. Okay. It goes through all of them. And I'm just wondering, run to cursor. And, okay, because I went too fast. Let's just try running it. It may be that I'm, okay. It did not work the way I had hoped. Let's look at the data. We should be able to, okay, tables. Okay, let's look at that first guy. Okay. And it also keeps the number.
Right.
Right.
So the WST is still there then.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you run it again on a,
We eliminate WST too. And by the way, I'm going to give the code out. Anybody coming up with anything, any improvements, I'd be delighted. I have a patent attorney who suggested that who said I could patent it. However, The problem with patents is not getting the patent, which is about $10,000, which they might even do for me. They're a really good client. The problem is defending the patent. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Coca-Cola has never patented their secret sauce. First of all, you have to describe it in more detail than they would want. And two, so everybody could copy it. And two, defending it is well over $100,000, which is why they're such a good client for me, because they defend patents for other companies. Let's go to clean name, because now that I've erased everything, and I think, okay, and let's go to, see if clean name, allows me to tell you what's going on. Nope. I don't know why. Oh, I see, because I have to do clean name first. Okay, I have to do the name. I knew there was a problem. I think, probably, when I did it, I just said, let's just do what I have to do. So we'll do clean name first. Yep, there we are. So modules. Oh, it's down here. So let's go to clean name. Let's see if clean name explains itself any better. Yeah, it takes out all the, it looks for only the characters that are letters. It doesn't look, it eliminates spaces and dots. Okay. And run to cursor. And here, if I had to put in a special thing for the person whose name was YU. Okay.
Right.
And okay. And it just keeps going, okay?
Okay.
So I just run it? Or you want to go through it again? Yeah, I'll show you what it's doing.
Yeah, let's step through it one more time. I think we've got plenty of time.
Okay. So ASC, let's do ASC. Well, okay, I'll tell you what, let's do, no, it's just looking for, like, these are the alphabet characters. If you look up ASC, let's go to ASC 47. That does not make much sense.
How about like, is it the string one character is O in the code? Why don't you try just the letter O there and see what that does?
They're all.
No, I mean, I'm looking at your code that the variable string one character, the current value was the letter O. See what that tells you there.
Well.
Yeah, see what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Well, let's see which ASC.
Yeah, do quote O quote, because you have to do, it's a string.
Yeah.
79.
79.
Oh.
And so what is string character
Going to be eliminated.
value?
That's going to be.
So that's a letter O, so it's being dropped out.
I don't know why. That doesn't make sense.
Well, I thought you said vowels got dropped out.
Okay, we have a winner here. R.
Hey, Linda.
Hi.
Can
I meant to say hello before. I forgot. But someone else was talking.
Oh, no, you're fine. Good to see you. And for the benefit of those who didn't jump in right when you started, maybe you can define what you're trying
Fine.
to do again for the benefit of those who weren't here in the very beginning.
Okay. So it just keeps building until, here, let's go. It goes through the whole name thing, last name. Let's go here. A little look, there it is. So it's picked out RTS. Let's see what the original last name was. Ortiz. Oh, it took out O because O is a vowel.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
the program's smarter than I am.
Yeah. So it dropped all the vowels out then.
It took all the vowels out. It took all, any spaces. Yeah, let's look at what the last name is. So it took out O and I. Okay.
Okay.
And then it's finished. But, if it were a longer name, it would still only take the first 5 characters. That seemed to be the sweet spot for duplicates. For one thing, if the name gets longer and longer, more likelihood of them misspelling it.
Oh.
They get the first few characters right, but they may not continue to get them right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's continue. And I think I think we'll let the name go, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll do the address.
Yeah.
All right. Now the address should work because it has a. All right. All right, so let's see what address we're dealing with. It's probably going to be our west whatever. Yep. Okay. So the difference is, okay. All right. Not much difference. I have to say, I kind of, all right. All right, it's still working on that. Let's go here. And now it goes through Expressway and
So at this step, you're taking out all those abbreviations.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess you'd maybe call them the standard word
Right.
catalog that you don't want to have.
Better way than going through that whole table, but I don't, one, I don't know, and two, it didn't seem worth it. There's a fine line between charging the client for what you want to do and charging the client for what they need. And they don't seem to need anything better than this, right?
Right.
And there's no point in my doing it for nothing. So shall I just continue?
Yeah, why don't you just run that through the end and we'll look at the data again?
And then I want to show, and then I want to show you the forms, because there are different forms which allow them to clean up the data also.
Okay.
Table.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm interested in seeing next too. So
Let's go to table. All right, so here's table customer. And they now have, let's do clean zip too. I'm not 100% sure what that does. I guess I could have looked it up. I don't tend to look at this stuff until I need it. All right, clean zip. Clean zip, where's clean zip? Oh, it needs a zip. Forget that. All right, let's go to the forms. So, form 1. Okay, form customer, which is one of the reasons it has some of those tables that really aren't needed. But I wanted to show you something. Okay, I deliberately put moon in twice. Okay, so let's look up moon. Come on, moon. I know you're there somewhere. She was there yesterday. Desiree,
there she is. Yeah.
that's moon. So why isn't moon finding moon? All right, you know what? We'll do it. If it doesn't want to work the way I want it to work, we'll do it the way. Yeah. I'll go Desiree. Moon. And let's put her address in. As if she were a brand new customer. And what's her zip code? Okay, I do it so that I have a zip code table. So it fills in the, you know what, maybe I wonder, I don't know why it's not working, because the zip code is supposed to automatically put the city and state in. So now it may not do what it's supposed to, which is what it's supposed to do is find and we'll put a book name. Oh, maybe that's the problem.
Oh,
It's still in break mode. You know that crazy thing
yes.
where you have to reset the code, but it doesn't tell you have to reset the code.
Yeah, you can just click on that blue square in the.
Oh, look at this. Okay, let's go back
Yeah.
to customer and see if it does a better job. I love Microsoft, not. Oh, I don't need the table. I want the form. Form. Customer. There, like it's supposed to be, right?
Right. Okay.
And,
And I also noticed, Linda, you typed your search stuff on the top this time, and I think before you actually put it in the record part of the form.
Well,
I can't completely understand what you're saying. It's not coming
Well,
across.
yeah. I'm not sure. I think the first time you tried it in the top, and then I think with the second, because I'm looking down at the record counter, and it looks like you now have 3 instances of moon. So maybe that second one, when you were typing in the,
Certainly possible.
yeah,
because
you actually added a 3rd instance of
But
it.
now, okay, so now what happens? Let's say if we change, it's supposed to pop up and say, there's already somebody in here with that name. And it didn't. Let's see if duplicate customer is any better. Okay, this one shows people who have the same phone number, which I had to make up. And then they can decide whether they want to process them together. Okay.
Okay.
And yes. And let's see. And you can treat it as a separate customer, or you can combine them. Right?
Right.
And you can decide which one to use. I would tend to use, I honestly don't know if this will work, but okay, yeah, it's got to look at the sign-on form, and it doesn't have a sign-on form.
So
Reset all. So it checks to see who's there. Okay, close form. And then we have form, pick from duplicate list. On the main sign-in form, they can run these processes whenever they want to. And it will give them a list of all the duplicates. On 100, there are only 2, but on 500,000, there are usually a lot.
okay, and now I can see the value of having that encoded address, because those 2 addresses in blue are identical, and they wouldn't necessarily be identical.
Right. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's do something here. Let's go to form customer and put in, I don't know, Diane Moon. And we'll put an address. What was the address that we had for her? I'm just going to change it slightly.
You're asking too much for me to remember that.
All right, we're going to take this address, and then I'm going to change it.
Shouldn't you be typing in the top part though, Linda? Not
Oh,
the
I think she's
part?
adding a new record now.
Road.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And all right.
All right.
Now it should. I don't know why it's not. It pops up. Let's look at the code and see why it's not doing what it's supposed to. It worked when I did it. You know this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what check for duplicates is not doing. Maybe it's the clean zip. Okay. Let's put in the clean zip. That's the problem. It actually does. It's because it actually doesn't just do it by okay. Let's do clean zip. That's probably what's, because there are a lot of people who live at one Main Street, so to speak, right? But they're in different, zip codes. So let's go to, I didn't run that process, and clean zip, I think, because this is only going to do it for one, and I want to do it for all. Edit. Go away. Edit. Find. Wait. I know the routine is in here somewhere. Oh, maybe it's scrub zip code. There it is. Let's scrub the zip code. Okay. Now it should work better. What that does also, Boston has sometimes has only 4 digits in the zip code when it comes in, because it doesn't show the leading 0.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes, I dealt with that in mailing lists. Yeah.
So, okay.
You mean Excel doesn't show the leading 0?
Well, no,
Okay.
if your predecessor defined zip as a number field.
Yeah, there's a clean zip as well. Yeah, the cleans, again, it never changes the actual data. It adds these fields to the data.
Yeah, I think Jack and I are both referring to the same phenomenon. Where,
Let's try Moon again. Okay, and now. See? You know what, let's close this. I'm gonna change, oh, it had road, okay. So let's go to. I didn't see road in here.
the third one,
It's the third, oh, it's the third one, I see.
yeah, it's just partly cut off because of the width of the.
Well, again, you know, when my clients don't complain, it's hard for me to fix things.
Yeah.
Let's move city over while we're here. Let's make size narrowest. I think I made it widest. Well, here, we'll just. And okay, let's close this. Yes, and try again. Okay, see?
Yep.
And let's say if we put in, you know, which I'm sure you can figure out, you know, let's say we put in, I don't know if W is going to work actually, because it looks like it didn't eliminate, you know, it didn't eliminate, you know, cancel. But here they all are again. And then you can decide to keep, oh, the reason, okay, you can add the first name. I don't know which form I have that on. That's in case, okay, they sometimes have Mrs. John Smith, mother, Mrs. John Smith, wife, and they're both living at the same address.
Mhm.
So in order to break that tie, you can add the first name to the duplicate check.
Okay.
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 And as a matter of fact, you can see it's Diane Moon, but it still picked it up.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether it should have. I mean, it's been working for years, and
Well,
it's a heck of, you know, because all right, they get about 1,000. They're doing well. They sell expensive linens. I mean, really expensive. And apparently it has not suffered much in the economy. And they get, you know, upwards of 1,000 names, you know, a month from the web. And, you know, this is the best way of keeping the duplicates out.
mhm. Yeah. So there's always, though, a manual step that we're looking at right here where somebody has to look at the possibilities and pick one, though.
Well, if they've spelled it differently. The other thing that was weird, I mean, it's impossible to catch up every duplicate. At one point, I happen to have a client who was also a client of this client.
Mhm.
And the second client, we'll call her, you know, Jane Smith. Jane Smith moved upstate New York. I happen to know her. She was a friend of mine. So she had an address upstate New York. She had an address in Manhattan, and she had a post office box where she was getting mail. And she had all three addresses in the database. And there was absolutely no way for the data to know that. I mean, there's no way. I corrected it because I knew her, but I obviously can't go through 500,000 names and say, oh, I know this guy.
Yeah.
So this is imperfect.
No, but I mean, that's true of any process, though. There's always going to be that last step where the human eye has to look at the data and say,
sometimes,
yeah,
I mean, it does a pretty good job for most of it. It does it automatically. I used to, as a matter of fact, what I did originally stop it and ask them if they wanted to change it, but with 1,000 names, it was taking them hours and they just didn't want to do it. So now I automated the process and it just automatically combines the names.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the person who sends out the catalogs, not the brightest pencil in the box, as we say, not the sharpest pencil. And at one point, he called the client and told them that I had deleted 40,000 customers. Okay.
oh,
Now, most clients would be apoplectic, don't you think?
yeah,
I mean, what do you mean you deleted? Well, even General Motors would wonder why you deleted 40,000 clients, right?
Yeah.
My clients called, I didn't even know about it. I mean, he went behind, he didn't, instead of asking me, because again, we're not talking a sharp pencil here. He said, I'm sure you had a good reason. Could you tell me why? I did not delete 40,000 customers. I combined them and added, combined all their transactions.
Yeah.
But I mean, imagine how good my clients are that instead of getting angry with me, they just said, I guess you had a good reason for doing it.
yeah.
40,000 customers. Oh, there was one other form I wanted to show.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the, where it shows duplicate phone numbers. And the reason it's duplicate phone numbers is because I wrote a little procedure to change all the phone, change every other phone number so they would match.
Yeah. I see.
And you can see these people are totally the same. So you don't want to delete either of them.
Yes. So
Right.
how would you reconcile that where you don't know which of those phone numbers is legit?
Well, it's up to them. They just either say, look, there are 500,000 customers. I can't call them all and find out what their real number is.
Yeah.
But in some cases, I guess they have, some clients they may know. I don't know. It's like,
Oh, but I guess
it's more obvious. This is obvious because I made
yeah.
data. But in some cases, you can see that the first name is maybe, James Ortez, and they do have the same address.
Yeah.
At which point you may want to combine them.
But your task really is to just give them the opportunity to do that.
Exactly. Very well put. I think I will use that if I ever have to demo this again.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing you can do with something like this is to take and have a column that says a possible duplicate or possible duplicate phone number, because the truth is it could have been the same person who is at a different address, but they got married and their name has changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially when you're using last name as your primary indicator.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to deal with these same issues for the revenue department of Portland. Okay. We've got a lot bigger name list than you're talking about. And first of all, we get data two different ways. First of all, there are the people who call in. And so our forms for data entry, we actually used an application that when you typed in an address, it does an address lookup and verifies that you're entering a valid address.
Right.
Okay, it's what they refer to as CAS coding. Okay. Right. The other two ways we get it is that every time someone updates their registration with the DMV, that information we get pulled once a year over, and we have to go through and pull that in and find out if we got new people who moved into the area for taxation purposes. Okay. And additionally, they can go online and pay for their taxes online.
Right.
But they're not required to actually enter what their ID is okay, because they may not even want to look at the document that was sent them. This is the tax you owe, and this is your ID. They
Right.
don't even bother that. They just go on and type their name in. So now all of a sudden you got someone that can't even type his own address in the correct way,
Yes.
okay? Doesn't give us an ID, and we're now trying to match that to the person who they supposedly have paid for.
Right.
Mm.
And we even had the issue of you'd have a parent that would pay for their siblings'
Of
taxes,
course.
because once someone turns 18 of age, they owe the tax.
Right.
So
You've got a
these are
lot-
all the things.
You've got a lot higher stakes there than whether or not you get 2 copies of a catalog too.
Oh, and like I say, we're talking people's money, okay? And of course, on top of it, there was even a late fee that if they didn't file their taxes by a certain point, we were now charging them and sending
Right.
out letters
Right.
about how they didn't pay, and they know
Right.
we paid, and all those kind of things. And so, like I say, CAS coding addresses such that there's only one way an address can be entered in the system, not the way you think it is, but the way the post office thinks it should
Right.
be.
Right.
Okay. Also doing things like using Soundex to generate a unique ID.
I know Soundex just didn't work for me. I mean, it looked like a good idea. It wasn't powerful enough.
Well,
That's-
but like I say, these are all the things that our old friend, some of us will remember, Jeff Hollander. That was his business, was address cleaning,
Who?
and his name was Jeff Hollander.
Okay.
And he's an old time POG member, okay, and that was his business, was address cleaning, and it was a very difficult process coming up with the right utilities for even genderizing names, because lots of times he got data where it was Bob and Kathy,
Sure.
and another times they get that same person but they put it as Kathy, or it's Kathy and Bob.
I
And
know.
So his routines had to go through and genderize that to be able to get them in the same order, to be even get them to sort into the same spot to see it, like you're doing here, trying to be able to say, hey, I got 15 possibles for this one group. Which one of them is valid, or are they all valid?
Right. Well, one of the things is this. Okay, you know, as I told you, the client wasn't even angry with me for deleting 40,000 names. Okay, but their clients call up if they get one extra catalog and carry on like their whole life has been ruined and they will never be able to face their friends again. So this is cut down to some extent. Also, the people who send the catalogs out, I do think have a more serious procedure about combining addresses, but this has helped.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's probably a cost involved on the mailing end too, where if you send them a cleaner list going in, the cost to process and send that mailing is going to be lower.
Oh, the catalog is expensive. It's like, you know, they don't want to send duplicate catalogs, but I can't begin to tell you, you know, they may be annoyed about sending out a duplicate catalog, but when the clients get a duplicate catalog, they go crazy. And sometimes the reason they get a duplicate catalog is not because the database isn't clean, but we buy lists, or they buy lists from other companies. So they send a catalog, it sometimes isn't a duplicate, or maybe it is because, again, the address has changed or whatever. And I have to add the person who didn't want the catalog, isn't a customer, to the database and mark it. Don't, you know, I'll show you. Okay. Catalog. It says do not rent. I don't know why. It's supposed to also have something that says send catalog once a year. Don't send. Oh, here. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure, but it actually, there's a little button that says, you know, don't send the catalog.
Don't send the catalog to this address. Yeah.
I'm glad the program actually works, because the demo obviously has some issues.
Well, yeah, that's always the case when you set up a demo though. So we're close to the end of our hour. So are there any other comments or questions?
I can tell one fun, odd little story. Okay. As I say, I started in the business a little over 60 years ago. At that point, the computers were practically put together by hand. In fact, they were a lot of them. At that point, they had, I don't know, 300 computers in the entire world. And because the system that I worked on, the 1401, they went up to 30,000. But nevertheless, they were still really not mass produced. So somebody went out to Chicago to demonstrate a program, and it broke because the computer out there didn't work. IBM actually wound up using the program that I was involved in to test the computer. So I go out to Endicott, where IBM was, and they run the program, and it bombs. And they said, I guess there's a bug in your program. I said, you have to understand, I'm here because I'm testing your computer. It's not a bug in my program. They actually developed beta testing. It wasn't a new thing, but IBM had the first beta test, and I got involved in that too. So there were two people. There was a 1401 and the 1410. The guy who was in charge of the beta test 1410 wouldn't let them touch anything. Fortunately for us, the guy in charge of the 1401 let us do anything we wanted. So we were constantly changing the program and telling him, oh, the cards must have fallen on the floor or something. There were other crazy things. Endicott once run out of cards. They literally ran out. I couldn't believe it. I thought they had a few. They literally had no cards.
That was in the punch card days.
Yes.
Oh,
But can you imagine IBM Endicott? 0 cards, 0 blank cards.
That's
Anyway,
yeah.
I was able to get in at that, at that time. I mean, it really was a whole different way of learning computers.
yeah. Those were that's before my time even. So I think we have learned a lot about how. I think what's more important to me is the approach, the algorithm you're using. And the code is going to help. I guess you'll provide a copy of the code we can look at.
To do is, see if there was anything here that I needed, to fix before I sent it to you. Is it okay if I send it to you, George? I'm going to zip it up,
Yeah.
and send it to you. All these subform ones, I'm sure are not needed.
Yeah. Well, take your time. I won't be able to do anything with it until the weekend anyway.
Okay.
So just go ahead and take your time. Get it ready to send. I'll make it available on the website on the
Perfect.
and the video. I'll probably process this over the weekend and upload it to
All right.
YouTube early next week. Thanks again for stepping in. As I say, it was sort of a short notice and you didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare, and I appreciate you being a good sport about that.
But nevertheless,
I'll hope.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. All right. So I hope to see you all next month, and thanks for attending.
Yeah. Okay. So I will send this to you, maybe, in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Or maybe-
Like I say, there's no rush. I can't get to it until Saturday at the earliest.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Good
Thank
night. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Linda. Who's presenting next month, George?
Next month is the online access hosting company.
Cool.
They're going to talk about, actually part of the reason they got postponed was they decided they wanted a different person to do the demonstration, because the first person that was going to do it is more like a marketing salesperson.
Right.
And so they shifted it back to somebody who's more on the technical side, who can.
I know. I used to tell people when I had an Access SIG in New York, okay, we're not buying the product. So if it breaks, it's okay. We're not going to be sold on it. We just need to see what you did. In fact,
we want to know what the
helps me
advantages are of
understand why
using it and how it will help, in what circumstances it will be useful. Yeah. So that's going to be the main focus.
okay.
All right. So I'll see you all next month.
Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again.
Bye.